Is the former governor of Louisiana who served 4 terms in Congress and is seeking the Republican presidential nomination. But you probably haven't heard of him. That's because he's been systematically excluded from every Republican presidential debate thus far and has gotten little in the way of national press coverage. We're here to fix that. Buddy Roemer, thank you for joining us.
You're helping change it, Brian. Thanks.
All right, so let's talk about why you've been excluded from the debates.
You know, I don't know why. Others will have to be accountable for that. There have been 14 national Republican debates over the course of almost 7 months, one every 10 days. Right. I have not been invited to any. I have asked for every one of them. I'm the only candidate for president in either party who's been both a governor and a congressman. And my record as a governor was best known for job creation. We took unemployment in Louisiana from 12%, the worst in America, to one of the best, below 6%. I'm a jobs guy. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not fancy. I was a congressman and a governor, and for the last 15 years, I've been running banks that I built to serve customers. We didn't get a bailout. We're almost $1 billion in size. We didn't foreclose on a single mortgage holder. We restructured the debt of every one of our customers. That's what a bank ought to be. And I think that sort of judgment ought to be in a Republican debate. I'm surprised.
Now, you're doing something that I think a lot of candidates would say is crazy, which is you are not taking donations in excess of $100. Right. And you don't have super PAC backing. You don't have a lot of the sort of special interest stuff going on that these candidates are really depending on. And I mean, political reporters like me, we tend to say, well, how much money did they raise in that quarter? Because that's going to tell you if they've got a shot at this thing. You're not raising a lot of money because you're not able to raise more than $100 from any individual. Why make that decision?
You think that's a good way to pick a president? How much money she raised or he raised? I don't think so. I see Washington, D.C. as the capital of corruption. And here's what I mean by that as a former congressman. Big checks are first in line. The big corporations in America finance these presidential campaigns. And you have a tax code you can't read. You have a border that's not sealed. You have a budget filled with earmarks. You have a nation up to its neck in debt. You have a trade imbalance for 41 consecutive years. We're addicted to foreign oil. We're addicted to foreign credit. And where's the change going to come from? From a president who's raising $1 billion for re-election, and most of it from special interests. Brian, I'm a banker. I watched bank reform last year. Too big to fail is still the law. Glass-Steagall is still dead. Capital ratios don't rise with the increase in size of banks. And guess where our president went a week after he signed the bill? Wall Street had a fundraiser at $35,800 a ticket, and you know who the host was? Goldman Sachs. Something's wrong in this country when Occupy Wall Street can smell the corruption and the guys in the system are getting rich on it.
Let me ask, you were a Democrat for a long time before you became a Republican.
Yes.
Why not take this message to the Democratic primary, be a primary challenger to President Obama? Because I do think that there is a call for this sort of message of, you know, let's stop raising money from corporate interests. I mean, why not?
And it's not limited to either party. Look at our campaign contributions. Let me just reveal what we've done. Our average investor, our average contributor is less than $55 a person. Wow. No PAC money, no super PAC money, fully disclosed. You know how many states have people who've given to me? All 50. You know which parties my money comes from? Democrats, independent, Republicans, Americans. This issue is an American issue. It's not a Democratic issue or a Republican issue because they're both bought and sold. The country's headed in the wrong direction. That's my opinion. And when I looked at my party, all the candidates looked exactly alike to me. Desperate for the money. They all take the big checks. They all have super PACs, and they're all beholden to some special interest. This country will never be strong again, Brian, unless we break the cycle. That's why I chose a $100 limit, no PACs, no super PACs, full disclosure. By the way, that's the way I've always run for office and generally won. Not every time, but generally. When I get my message out, I beat an incumbent Democrat for congressman. When I got my message out, I beat an incumbent Democrat for governor. I changed parties 20 years ago. I'm not going to do it again. I'm a Republican, but know this about me. I'm a proud Republican, but I'm a prouder American. And this is an American issue. And if I could clean up the Republican Party, what a strong step that would be. And all the other candidates have to do is join me. I've offered a pledge to every one of them. Huntsman with his super PAC from his dad. Mitt Romney with 4 $1 million checks. Rick Perry with 7 super PACs. Newt Gingrich, who lives off lobbying and special interests, thrives in Washington, and now he's going to run against it. I'm not buying it. I offer them a pledge, Brian. $100, full disclosure, no super PACs. Let's have a leader free to lead.
Admirable pledge. I think we'd be surprised if we saw them take you up on it. How do we fix the problem? I mean, what do we do in terms of campaign finance reform? 3 steps quickly, because I want to talk about a few other things. What would they be?
Full disclosure, sunlight is important. Limit PAC contributions to the same as individuals, number 2. Eliminate super PACs. They're supposed to be independent. It's a lie. They're illegal. Just get them out of the system. Number 4, do not allow lobbyists to bring a check or participate in a fundraiser. You can bring an idea, but you cannot bring a check. We need to separate that. I would have 48-hour reporting, not 120 days. And finally, I would have criminal penalties in the law when congressmen break the law.
You've complained that that no one has gone to jail as a result of the 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah.
Who should be in jail? I mean, what should have happened that didn't happen?
Well, I won't mention a company specifically like Goldman Sachs.
I mean, you are mentioning Goldman Sachs. Are you saying Lloyd Blankfein should have gone to jail for what happened?
He lied to Congress.
So you think
absolutely he ought to be held accountable, just like the global marketing with John Corsine. Just like congressmen who get special deals and have conflicts of interest. They sent Martha Stewart to jail, didn't they, for insider trading? What about the 15 congressmen that have been doing it? Are they going to go to jail? I'll tell you right now, they're not. Washington is corrupt. It's for the powerful and the elite. This is supposedly a republic. And you know what a republic means? It's a representative democracy where the representatives are held accountable by the people. I'm saying, wake up, America. They've stolen your government.
What do you say to folks who say, look, the Supreme Court has said money is speech. If I am a wealthy individual and I want to spend $100 million to get my preferred candidate into office, that's my right as an American. That's my free speech. What's the problem with that?
Can you holler fire in a crowded theater when there's no smoke? The First Amendment protects us all, and I think money is speech, and we need to be very careful how we manage it. But for 100 years in this country, we said corporations were not people, and therefore they had to have the same limits that people had. Well, you know something? The Supreme Court said it's been interpreted that corporations are people. I don't agree with that. I don't think a corporation can be drafted for the next war. They're not people. Look, I believe in broad limits. I'm not saying that it has to be $100, Brian, but it ought to be some manageable number, say $1,000. PACs ought to be brought down to that same number. We can have free speech. I want more speech, Brian. Here's the way you get more. You quit the big guys from hollering fire and screaming and get average Americans to speak up. That's more speech, not less. Let me say it again. More speech, not less.
I want to get through a few things because you are running for president, and that is not the only issue.
Right.
Obamacare, should it be repealed?
Yes, some of it is good. I like the coverage in a family up to the age of 26. I like pre-existing condition being covered. But they did nothing with insurance companies. They ought to be bought under the Sherman Antitrust Act. We actually need competition. We can lower costs. Tort reform needs to be held. Nothing was done about the lawyers. Come on. And pharmaceutical, they are protected in Obamacare. It ought to be struck down and done away with those 3 changes, plus an incentive to save cost. I would let anybody who document a 10% cost saving over the course of a year who is in the medical business, they would keep 25%. of everything they saved, you would change this system. I'm a diabetic, Brian. I believe in health care reform, but President Obama's approach, unfortunately, was just the opposite of what we need.
I gotta say, you sound to me like somebody who has a message that would resonate with a lot of folks who wouldn't be watching the Republican presidential debate, but who have a lot of anger towards President Obama. I know you're talking about perhaps this American elect ticket, but why not try to be a strong voice of criticism and try to capture some of that on the left?
Well, I'm doing it. It's happening, Brian. But under our system, you run in a party primary.
Right.
Now,
but the primary is not.
It's not working.
They're not letting you in.
Well, I don't have a chance unless I get on a debate, because nobody knows me, Brian. They don't know how I feel about energy independence. They don't know how I would feel about foreign policy. We need fair trade with China. They're stealing our jobs illegally. I've been to China many times. I could tell you stories that would make your hair singe. We need a president who would stand up, not to hurt the Chinese, but to help American workers. Defend America, Mr. President, including its workers. You know what we want from China? Fair trade. And by the way, you asked a question a while ago that I'd like to answer directly. It was really, do you have a chance, buddy? I do. If 1 million Americans stand with me at $25 or $50 or $60 or $100, if 1 million Americans do what I've done, stand up after 20 years being out of politics. Stand up with me, America. We'll take this government back.
And if they want to stand up with you, they go to BuddyRoemer.com?
BuddyRoemer.com, and that's Roemer. Look at my website. It's got my speeches on it. It's got what I believe. It's got my passion. It has a picture of my wife and my kids. It is me, and I am an American, and I'm running for president, and I think I have that right. And the big boys have shut me out. And I ask you a question. Why?
Buddy Roemer, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
That is Buddy Roemer, the Republican presidential candidate. You can learn more about him on BuddyRoemer.com. And for more coverage of the 2012 presidential campaign, be sure to stick with CBS News and CBSNews.com.